Does it looks like it's recording? All right, thank you for joining me, Joseph Limo, one of my team members here. And I thought today we just do like a little short mini mastermind
Sure.
and share some of the things that we do to help our buyers in this market. And it is, make no mistake, it's a challenging market again, right, Joseph?
It absolutely is. I mean, we know that there's been a lot of shifts in the market, but they're happening more often and faster. So making sure that you understand what's happening in the moment and adjusting accordingly is key. So knowing how to be really strategic to get your offer accepted is never a bad thing. I think it's a really important skill set to have as a buyer anyway.
I would agree wholeheartedly on that. And yesterday, Joseph, we had that open house, and we had over 90 groups of people come through
Mhm.
on an open house. And now part of that is a function of what the market is right now, for sure. But really, I want to tip my hat to Joseph and the marketing that we do on our open houses for our sellers. And this will probably be another video we'll do, another little in mastermind in the future, talking directly to sellers. But just as a side note, we generate a lot of activity on all our listings with the strategic marketing that we do, driving a lot of people to our open houses, more than the average open house. Now, that's a little teaser. We'll get in that in another episode, if you will. Joseph, so what are some of the conversations that you're hearing from buyers right now? What are maybe one or two things that they're sharing with you?
As far as buyers go, yeah,
Yeah.
like I still see a lot of buyers out there that are having a hard time when they find the home that they like, getting an offer accepted, and not necessarily recognizing the fact that even as markets shift, when the home is awesome, priced correctly, that they're still going to face competition.
Okay.
So that's a very
What does
yeah,
that look
that's
like specifically?
yeah, that looks like them, writing an offer, feeling like they had the only show in town and realizing that they didn't even get a counter. They didn't even get a response where they probably were more willing to be accommodating to the seller, but never even had that opportunity because in a lot of cases you get one shot. You have to present an offer that's going to be at least good enough for the seller to want to engage with. So when that happens, I think there's some missed opportunities there. And that's what we're going to talk about because if you do the right things, you shouldn't put yourself in a place unknowingly, not even getting it in a counteroffer situation.
Mhm.
Now, whether or not you choose to make adjustments from there based on, you as the buyer and how much you want this home, that's a different story. But if you really want the property and don't even get a response, that's just a really difficult thing to deal with. So here are kind of the three things that I think are really key. Number one, I think if you as a home buyer understand what you have to offer, obviously price is traditionally the most weighted metric that a seller is going to consider. But there are other things that you can offer them that could be really beneficial to them in terms of convenience, in terms of out of pocket expense. So it may not be money that you give them, but other types of things that you can offer them in the terms that could save them a lot of money. So you as the buyer have to understand what your accolades are, what some of the features are that you could accommodate a seller with and know how to present them properly. Well, how do you do that? Conversation with a great real estate professional. If your real estate agent can help you uncover and understand some of the opportunities that you can offer of value, then you accentuate those in your offer. That's going to move the ball forward.
Okay.
Don't,
Give us just like, I know there's a lot of
sure.
things that we do that's right there. We could do a whole seminar just on that. But
Oh, absolutely.
give me, for people watching that may not really understand what that is, give us one or two examples. Like, what does that look like? Maybe, perhaps,
Yeah,
hypothetically.
absolutely. I mean, a really big one for a lot of sellers right now that are trying to make a single move. They're selling their home and they're moving to another one. Having a single transition can be a real value to a seller. So if you are a buyer who is renting or staying with a family member, in other words, you have the ability to give them a little bit of time after the close of escrow. Not only could that be of value to the seller in terms of dollars and cents, but it could be of massive value when it comes to their convenience and not disrupting their family. So if you could offer a seller, call it 7 days after closing, 10 days after closing, and be in a position to not charge them, as an example, This is where if you're neck to neck with another offer, but you've offered that in advance, that could really cause the seller to look forward and go, wow, that's something that could be very valuable to me. But again, this is knowing whether or not it's something that can work for you as a buyer. If you can't do that, that's okay. There
Hmm.
are other ways to accommodate a seller.
Hmm.
Another one that,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
go ahead, Nathan.
No, I just excellent, excellent advice. I
Yeah.
recently did one where we, as an elderly seller, they were in escrow on another house, and they were thinking, well, we need to pack up, move, stay with family, then move into our house when that escrow closes. And the the way we had our offer differentiated from everybody else, I mean, we were right there with price, of course. Don't get me wrong, we didn't lowball them. We were
Hmm.
at a fair price, but very competitive. There was a dozen others, pretty much within a few $1,000s of each other. We offered the seller to stay 30 days after the close of escrow for $1. We just made
Mm.
a rent back contract, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. You get your money,
Yep.
get to stay there for 30 days, finish up your escrow, because a lot of people don't understand there's a little bit of a logistics involved. I sell my house, I close escrow, I don't instantly get the money in my bank account.
Nope.
We 20 we have excellent escrow companies these days. They can usually wire it by the next day.
Hmm.
Um, and then I have to then turn around and wire that to my up leg escrow. They have to finalize the close. The people on that side need to get out. Anyways, to remove all that stress, because make no mistake, selling a house and moving is a very stressful activity. And I would argue, I'm in my 50s now. I really don't want to do that anymore. I look at other homes and that means I'd have to move if I bought a different house. So by taking the stress out, that was very attractive to this elderly couple. And even though we weren't quite the highest, we were close enough. They went, we like that. We can stay in our house and then we can finalize our move, take time moving stuff out. And it worked out beautiful, everybody. That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. And then again, it really just comes down to knowing your circumstances and whether or not they could really accommodate a seller in a way that could move the needle.
Yes.
Another one is some of my clients who have maybe already sold their home and they're in a position where they can offer a really significant earnest money deposit. Now, I will say this, there is risk and reward with what I'm about to share. Okay.
Okay.
The more earnest money deposit in escrow, the more possibility a seller could retain that money if you don't perform according to the contract. Again, having a great real estate professional like Nathan, as an example, is why you need to have the right guidance, the right clarity, so that you know how to be protected. Nathan's excellent at that. But if
And,
you have a significant earnest money, that's where a seller goes, these people are serious. They have skin in the game.
yeah.
And that alone could move the ball forward.
Yes, that's a very good point. And thank you for the compliment, Joseph. And I would say that you're every bit as good, if not better, on doing
Oh,
that kind of stuff and doing the consultations. I want to throw one little thing in there that we all do that I don't think most agents really talk about it. At least I haven't seen agents talk about it. And that's doing um, some recon, so to speak. Instead of just throwing that offer in, and God forbid you never even pick up the phone and talk to the listing agent and let them know it's coming out. A lot of agents do that. You and I know. I mean, we receive dozens of offers where we never talk to the listing agent. We have no idea what their buyer's all about, and boom, we got an offer sent to our email.
yep.
So one of the things I know Joseph does this, I do this, is we pick up the phone and we have
Yeah,
a
that's point
conversation
number
with the
two for
list.
me. You nailed it. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Keep
and
going, man, because you're spot on.
well, I like to find out what's important to the seller specifically, because there may be some terms that we don't know about. And so by having an honest conversation with the listing agent, oftentimes we have the ability to craft the offer that is the most appealing to the seller. And again, like you said to start with, it's not always just price. Obviously, price is a very important factor. I'm not
Yep.
discounting that. But how do we differ besides price? How do we differentiate our offer from the vast amount of other offers coming in? And I would argue, have that conversation with the listing agent. Do some recon, do a little research. How long has a person lived in there? Are they older, younger? Find out how we can craft this offer so it's the most appealing to the seller in as far as terms. And oftentimes our buyers, they can be a little bit flexible especially if it means winning the house of their dreams. Like you said, maybe they're staying with relatives, or maybe they're just renting month to month. Just did one. The guy was on a month to month rental, not a problem. We were able to be flexible on that. So anyways,
Yeah, and this is another reason why working with a great real estate professional has a great team around them, like Nathan. Making sure that your lender is top notch, not just as a lending professional, but as someone who lends when someone is acquiring a home, buying. What I mean is, there's some lenders out there that'll pitch the lowest rate ever, and if they're just a refinance house, they may not be the right lender for you. For example, some of the great lenders that we work with, right? Larry, as an example, that's someone who can make sure that if the buyer is willing to go through the process in advance, which I really recommend, he might be able to say, hey, listen, if you guys need to, don't hesitate to write a 21-day escrow, because I can get the loan done in time because this buyer has given me everything I need and there's a clear path here. So think about this. Like Nathan said, you pick up the phone and you call the listing agent. That's on us. Okay. That's not something you can do as a buyer, but what you can do as a buyer is make sure you're getting the right real estate professionals in the room, wherever you are on the screen, Nathan. That's your job as a buyer, is make sure you're working with a professional real estate agent who knows what they're doing, like Nathan, because he's going to make sure you're partnered with the right people. When he picks up the phone to call the listing agent, one of the things the agent may say is like, listen, yeah, like price, obviously important, but you know what? My sellers really need a quick closing for whatever reason. Well, now you're in a position, even though you're financing, as an example, to be that quick closing for them. And he may say they need a quick closing. Man, they love about 3 or 4 days after close of escrow. Okay, now you're stacking the power in your favor. 21-day close, 5 days after closing. Now you're really starting to separate. Even if price-wise you're competitive with everyone else, you're starting to shine. So yes, know what your options are as a buyer that fit within your life, within your circumstances, within your finances, that could be of value to a seller. Make sure you're having that conversation with the listing agent, that's on us, to understand what's good for the seller. And then, of course, the third one, and this one's a little bit harder to wrap heads around or to say in a short sentence, but it really comes with the follow-up from there. And this is where your real estate professional and your lender can really separate you from the rest of the competition. What does this look like? An email that has properly stacked the offer, that has been written correctly, that has been signed and initialed in every single, accuracy is key. Believe me, as listing agents ourselves, we take notice of this.
yes.
But the other thing is picking up the phone and calling the agent thereafter, having the lender contact the listing agent and walk them through how diligent that loan has already been underwritten. These are the ways that you give confidence to the listing agent when they sit with their seller and go, all right, here's 2 or 3 offers that are kind of close to one another. This one has some other features for you that'll make life a little easier. By the way, talk to this agent, talk to this lender. This is a solid deal. When you give the listing agent that level of confidence that they're going to have a clear path to closing in escrow, they're going to share that with their seller. Because a listing agent doesn't want to go into escrow and have problems. They look bad, that they didn't do their diligence. Help them. And this is what Nathan and I do. We help them with that due diligence by not making them reach out to us and figure out, who's a good agent, who's a good lender. We're calling them to make sure that they know that. Okay.
Excellent point, Joseph.
Yep.
The biggest fear for any listing agent is to advise their clients to accept an offer that on paper checks all the boxes for the seller, but then you get into an escrow and the escrow doesn't close, or doesn't close on time, or there's a lot of hiccups. So sellers also, I think, to maybe a lesser degree, they're a little bit fearful too. They don't want to pull their home off the market, maybe miss other offers, get into a troublesome escrow, then to have to cancel that and start all over again.
Never looks good to live back on the market for a seller. They lose leverage in that case every single
leverage,
time.
and I would argue you're probably going to end up accepting a little bit lower price in the end of the day. And I know, Joseph, you're excellent at this, is having those conversations. And one of the things we're doing here is we're selling the buyer to the listing agent and the seller But more importantly, we're also selling our team, like you were saying.
Yes, absolutely.
Our escrow or our lender partners reach out and they give them the documentation showing how solid the buyer is. They make that phone call. You know, I can't tell you how many times I get dozens of offers on our listings. I have to bird dog and call the lender to get
Yep.
more information. We proactively go out there. We stack that email, often with video. I do a little video introduction of myself and my experience and what my team brings to the table. You're not going to have to chase us down. Same thing with Joseph. He's got great assistance. I got great admin support, just like Joseph. We, our team, ensures the escrow process runs smoothly. The paperwork's done. There's a lot of timelines that have to be met, and having a good team makes that all possible. But we have to sell that up front to the listing agent, to the seller at the same time, that they have confidence. Hey, we pull the trigger on this offer. These people are going to not only perform, but they're going to do so in a stress-free manner. That's kind of what you're saying, right, Joseph?
Nathan, I mean, quite honestly, this is what most people don't understand about negotiation and a lot of these hot topic words that people think being a good negotiator means that I show up in a suit and I beat my chest harder than the other person and I we have an argument that I win. That's not negotiation, or at least it's very, very poor negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
Sales processes that are very high level feel like a flat line. There is no climax of emotion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So closing and all that stuff, it's not like this big moment, right? And it's like, all right, is it yes or no? That is terrible salesmanship. And working with an agent like Nathan and like some of the other agents on our team that really understand proper negotiation, it's literally what Nathan just expressed, which is we get on the phone with the agent, we start to not necessarily just sell, but demonstrate to them
Mm-hmm.
that we are the better option. The other thing that's really important that most buyers don't understand is that when you're working with an agent that has spent their career being a great practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually to your benefit, to your bottom line as a buyer. So when you're working with someone that has notoriety in the industry, that other agents say, hey, I know this name. This is an agent who's been in the business for a long time. They do solid business. They understand what they're doing. Their buyers are well prepared. The lenders that they work with are stellar. This is an agent that I know when they enter escrow, there are not these hiccups or surprises or these big problems that happen that should have never come to the table. Now, don't get me wrong. In a transaction, there could be a home that has big problems, and we don't find that the seller and the buyer can line up on how to solve the issue, and that's okay and that's fair. That's what the due diligence period is for. But there are so many escrows that cancel because they should have never been escrows to begin with. There
Yeah.
were things that didn't get uncovered in the homework portion of things, and now we're in escrow, and now everyone's disappointed when they didn't have to be. So working with the right agent and an agent who understands negotiation skills, because again, you don't have a negotiation where you show up to the table and it's me versus you and it's a big argument. The way that Nathan sells, the way that I sell, the way our team sells is we started negotiating at hello, and
Yeah.
it's a process. So
Yeah.
working with a great agent in that regard is going to get the job done for you.
Wow. Wow. I mean, just in a few minutes here, we've really hit a lot of key points, and I think maybe we'll break this up into maybe a couple different videos and interviews in Mastermind. I don't want to make this too long, but the takeaway, Joseph, is to use agents that have not only the experience, but they have the systems in place to be able to service at a high level. And one of the reasons I've partnered with you, Joseph, is you have those systems and the systems I have, and we've meshed those together and we've made a seamless process, not only for our sellers, but our buyers as well. So without getting into all the all the ingredients and doing a full-blown buyer's presentation, there's a lot more that we do. Maybe we'll do a couple more of these in the future, but I want to wrap this up and just thank you, Joseph, for
My pleasure.
minutes to do this little mini mastermind, if you will, and hopefully if it's well received, we'll do some more. I'm going to put this on YouTube. I don't, Joseph probably will too with his channel. And
Mhm.
if please leave comments. I'm just going to throw that out there. If there's different topics that you see that you'd like us to cover, together I think we bring almost 50 years of experience into the real estate industry, and we'd be happy to share it with you. So
Yeah, I would also say ask questions in the comment section by all means.
yes,
Comments, questions, make sure to like and subscribe. That's always very helpful, and it lets us know that we're giving you content that you want. And then the last thing I would say, just for our buyers out there, what Nathan said is spot on. If someone actually does a buyer's consultation and shows you that they have a process, now at least you know you're working with someone who's a professional.
yes,
Then you get to decide, is their process one in which you subscribe to, that you think is the right path for you?
yes.
If you show up with an agent and they don't even do a consultation with you and show you their process, that's your number one key, that's probably not someone who's going to be able to help you acquire a home on that highest level and give you that highest level of service that you deserve.
Well put. Well put. Again, thank you, Joseph. I'm going to stop the recording here. But thank you again, Joseph. And
My pleasure.
okay. Bye-bye.